Welcome to the Lauren Blackwell channel. When I first heard about what happened to Billie Eilish in Florida, in Miami, during her concert, the first person that came to mind was CHRISTINA GRIMMIE. So, we've all heard, right? The fan that tried to drag Billie Eilish when she was greeting her fans right before her concert started. There are so many video clips of what happened. It was quite dangerous. Honestly, whenever I see these artists getting this close to their fans, all I think about is CHRISTINA GRIMMIE and how you can never truly protect yourself if you bring yourself that close to fans. Because even if they're searched, there's always a possibility that someone could slip something through security, and that can be very dangerous for the celebrity. So very quickly, let me just give a summary for those of us who don't quite remember. But CHRISTINA GRIMMIE was an artist. She started out on YouTube around, I think, 2009. She used to do covers of songs and post them on YouTube, and then she grew her following to millions. When she had her first 1 million followers, she released her first album. I forgot what the album is called, but she released her first album, and she started to step outside of YouTube to do other things as she continued to grow. She was very young, and she was just very focused on her art. At some point, she was signed to Island Records, but she was eventually released from Island Records. However, a lot of people were very impressed with her talent, so much so that Adam Levine wanted to sign her to 222 Records. Lil Wayne also wanted to sign her to Young Money Entertainment. So she was doing really well. She even released a second album before she passed. She released 2 albums in total, and she decided to be a contestant on The Voice. When she contested there, her fan base grew even bigger. Her popularity grew as well. She was still really young. I mean, when you think about the fact that when she passed away, she was only around 22 years old. So she was really young and focused. And she was achieving a lot of success. Meanwhile, this particular fan that attacked her was in his house obsessing, and nobody knew about it. So she was in Florida, for a performance where she was going to perform and then sign some autographs and meet her fans. So she did that. She did perform, and then she came down, and there was also a barricade, just as in this Billie Eilish concert. The fan was also behind the barricade, just as in the Billie Eilish concert, and she went to meet with the fans just like in this Billie Eilish concert. She went to meet with the fans, she signed some autographs and would give them a hug. So it was very close, she was very close to the fans. And when it became her attacker's turn, I don't care to remember his name, he pulled out his weapon and fired in her direction, twice in her head and once in her chest. And he clearly wanted to take her out, because why would you do that otherwise? So she was it was very bad. She barely had a pulse. She was rushed to the hospital. After she was attacked, her brother, who was at a table selling some of her merch, he's a guitarist, by the way, and they're very close. So he jumped off of where he was and ran towards the attacker and kind of fought with the guy, which was very dangerous because at this point the attacker still had a weapon, and he fought with the attacker. The attacker then shoved himself back and pulled out a second weapon and fired at himself and took himself out. How that is just crazy. Like, her brother could have been attacked just like his sister. Can you imagine losing two of your children at an event that they attended just for a performance? It was so sad. And so she passed at the age of 22. When she was rushed to the hospital, she had a weak pulse, but she did not survive. So it was really, really sad. In the same way that her brother ran after the guy that attacked CHRISTINA GRIMMIE, the girl in the red bandana ran after the guy that attacked Billie Eilish and tried to drag her, and confronted him, and he was cowering like the coward that he is in the crowd. And the more security guards came and the police came and took him away. We don't know if he has a weapon, whether or not that has been addressed. As at the time that I'm making this recording, we don't know. But it was a very close call, and Billie Eilish does have some health issues, so this is going to be even more stressful for her. It is just so dangerous for artists to be exposed to the fans this much. I understand that there was a barricade and they go through security, and sometimes they have a metal detector, but that is not always the case. In the CHRISTINA GRIMMIE case, there was no metal detector to detect if someone had that kind of a weapon. So they would not have caught it. It was so easy for him to bring his weapon to the concert. In the Billie Eilish case, we don't know that he has a weapon, and we don't know how good the security was, but it's really not so great that you cannot sneak something in there. A lot of the time, security is so focused on food, drinks, and cameras that they're not really checking for a lot of the dangerous things that they could be checking for. And when people are crazy and they really want to accomplish something, they will find a way. So it's just best to limit the kind of close contacts with fans that some artists like to do. It would be unfortunate because some artists really do feel close to their fans, and it's part of their work for them to greet them and have some sort of like semi-personal interaction with them while they're performing. But that's gonna have to be a thing of the past, because this is really dangerous. That fan really did drag Billie Eilish almost over the barricade. If that barricade wasn't there, who knows what could have happened. And kudos to the girl that jumped to action and confronted the guy, because otherwise he could have been lost into the crowd, and there are cameras around, so perhaps they would have still picked him out. But the way she went right after him, demanding to know why he did what he did, kudos to her. None of the other guys that were over there, besides security that are being paid, did that. But you know what? That's neither here nor there. We're not gonna go there. But kudos to the girl for going after that guy. I don't know what's gonna happen. There has not been any charges filed yet against him as far as we know, but there has to be, because these kinds of people, when they do something without really accomplishing their goal, typically they do not suffer much consequence from the legal system. They're allowed to go, maybe not scot-free, but they do not really suffer the consequence that they should. And these kinds of behavior only escalate after that. So I think he needs to either do some serious time, or suffer some kind of serious consequence, because you just cannot do that. If Billie Eilish were a man, I doubt that this guy would have done this. Even if he's obsessed with him, he would not be so bold to think that he can just drag her into the crowd like this. So yeah, but I'm glad Billie Eilish is okay and he did not do anything super crazy. And can we talk about the level of, I want to say, emotional fortitude that Billie Eilish had to have in order to center herself and still perform after that? Because most people would have been so frazzled that they would either have canceled the show, or at least have needed more time before going back on stage, but the way that she just went right back onto the stage and performed, kudos to her. And hopefully she decides to keep more distance from her fans henceforth, because this is not safe at all. That's all I have on Billie Eilish. Thank you guys for watching. See you in my next one. Bye guys.